Hey folks, this is Kalani. The WoW Remix Pandaria event is in full swing, and there are a lot of moving parts in this event, and the default UI doesn't always make things easy to understand what's going on, what you should be doing for the best rewards, and it definitely doesn't let you quickly swap things around for different kinds of content, or to just experiment with different gems and abilities. There are also quite a few things you may have missed, which could really improve your quality of life, speed up your character's progression, and let you collect all of the various rewards on offer much faster. So here are 15 things you need to know about the Mr. Pandaria event and things that we wish we knew sooner. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. The first thing you absolutely have to know is that the unsocketing spell that you learn at the start is kind of useless, at least in part where you don't actually have to use it. You don't have to click that spell, then click an item to get your gem out. You can just open the gem socket interface by shift right clicking on the item and left click on the socketed gem. That will pull it right out. Clicking on that spell to unsocket items took so much longer, so I just had to get this one out there early. Kind of adjacent to that, you can't really accidentally delete your gems anymore either. If you scrap an item with gems socketed inside, you just get the gems back. So you don't really have to worry about double checking any gear before you throw it into the scrapper for that precious bronze currency. Your gems are safe, even if you aren't being super careful with them. Another tip for gems that I find to be kind of hilarious is that you can combine prismatic gems while moving. So while you're running through the raids in between bosses or trash mobs, or any spare downtime you get in a dungeon, just whenever you find yourself running for a good chunk of time, check to see if you have any prismatic gems to combine in the higher qualities. It's a fantastic use of what would otherwise be dead time. Now perhaps the most important tip I have related to spell gems in this event is to download the Narcissus add-on. I know this add-on is known for all sorts of things and it is kind of a large add-on to install just for this purpose, but I haven't seen another add-on do this quite as well. With the add-on installed, you can open your character pane and click on this hourglass icon. This opens a very clean menu that lets you socket your meta and cogwheel gems. You just click on the slot and pick from the list of gems and the add-on will do the rest. There's also a tab for the Tinker Gems as well, which lists every Tinker Gem available so you can quickly see which ones you have and which ones you don't, and then you can just right click to unsocket that Tinker Gem or left click to socket the one you want. You don't have to go through your gear, unsocket your gems, find them in your bag, make sure you have the right ones, none of that. This lets you swap them out super easy and they're always in the same location on this neat little honeycomb chart thing. It's amazing. And then you can also quickly swap out prismatic gems as well using these plus and minus buttons. It's a great way to show you how much of each stat you are contributing to your gear. You'll have to combine your stat gems yourself though, so just keep that in mind. This add-on is probably the best tip I have for this event. If you don't listen to anything else here, go get this add-on. It really is such a lifesaver. Something a lot of folks don't seem to know about gems is that you can actually buy them. You don't have to rely on just random drops or your caches, you can buy gems pretty much straight away. This allows you to get your best gems really early so you can enjoy those massive power spikes. You can find a gem vendor at any infinite bazaar and they will sell an item that generates a random gem of any type. So if you really need that one specific meta gem, you can buy meta gems until you get the one you want. The same goes for Tinker Gems and even prismatic gems, so you can spend a little bit of bronze to get a huge power spike that lets you stomp through the rest of your leveling up content or anything else. The only drawback here is that it is random, so you may have to buy quite a few before you get what you need or want, but the good news is that you probably want one of each anyway, just in case the dev team makes some major balance changes later on down the line. You also can't get any duplicates, so you aren't guaranteed to get the ones you want eventually. As long as you are playing through the event, you will keep getting more and more gems until you ultimately have one of each meta, tinker and cogwheel gems, and then you'll keep getting prismatic gems no matter what. These gems can take a lot of your bag space, but there's some good news. You can put gems into your bank and you still won't get any duplicates of them. So if you have some gems that you absolutely know you won't use unless they get big changes, pop them in your bank to save yourself some bag space. If you're wanting to work on a lot of ults throughout the event, one huge tip I have for you is to make your ults early. Create the characters that you want to level up and then fly to the nearest inn and just log out. This will make sure that every ult that you want to play will be accruing that sweet rested experience to make leveling them even faster when you get around to them. It might not save you a huge amount of time in the long run, but any time saved is better than no time saved. I have my newly named ult army all ready to go for whenever I get the time to cycle through them. Something else a lot of folks don't seem to fully understand is how your cloak progress carries over to your ults to make them super powerful right from the get-go. Your main's cloak doesn't just carry over every thread and stat, even though I think it should. That would have been way more fun. Instead, your ult's cloak is a fixed set of stats depending on which infinite power achievement you have unlocked. The infinite power achievements are earned by collecting threads, and the higher your max achievement, the better your ult's starting cloak will be. So for example, here's the cloak with infinite power 10 unlocked. Not all that great in the grand scheme of things, but if you then get infinite power 11 unlocked, your ult's cloak will get boosted up to look like this. But then if you get infinite power 12, which is the final version of the achievement, your ult's cloak will look like this, which is as powerful as it can be. So you really want to get that infinite power 12 achievement before you start making ults, just to ensure your ults have as much power behind them as possible. That's going to make leveling them much easier and way more fun. You can hop straight into dungeons or even heroic dungeons and one-shot everything. That's where your ult power is going to come from. If you have an ult that you have made before getting some of the higher infinite power achievements, you can just unequip and re-equip your cloak to update the buff to the higher achievement numbers, so ults that were made before you got to infinite power 12 aren't out of luck, you just need to refresh the bonus. Another way you can power up your ults is to buy the jewelry and trinket slots from the Infinite Bazaar. They cost 10 bronze each, so they're super easy to pick up on your ult. The only catch is that you do need to complete an achievement to unlock each of these items for your entire account. Getting to level 70 on one character will unlock one of the trinkets. The escalation achievement unlocks the other trinket for you. Completing every dungeon on heroic will reward you with one ring. Completing every scenario on heroic rewards you with the other ring. And then to get the necklace, you'll need to clear all of the raids on at least normal. When you've done the achievements on one character, your ults can just buy the piece of gear from the vendor for 10 bronze, and each slot will let you equip another 3 prismatic gems on that character, so they are going to help power up any character you can get them on. Now, leveling ults isn't just good for having more characters to take into the war with an expansion. There are brand new quests that reward huge chunks of bronze when you hit level 50, 60 and 70. With all 3 quests added up, you can get 40,000 bronze just for leveling up to max level, and these rewards are available on each character. So leveling your ults is actually one of the better ways you can get your hands on the bronze currency to buy all of the various transmogs, mounts and toys on offer throughout this event. The event also has a whole bunch of consumables that you should pay attention to. You can get scrolls that let you resurrect or summon, so both of those actions are available to every single player in this event. There are scrolls to replace class buffs and debuffs as well, but one that I haven't seen highlighted much is the Infinite Bazaar Teleport. Nostwin's voucher will instantly teleport you to the closest Infinite Bazaar, making it a great option to quickly teleport to a town if you need to get something from a bazaar, or if you just need to log off in an inn, or just skip over a big chunk of the map. They also let you teleport back to where you came from, making it a very flexible option for getting around the map. The next tip is that daily activities just keep getting better and better. There have been so many buffs to dailies at this point that they are almost always worth doing. The 3 daily quests available at the Infinite Bazaars were recently buffed quite considerably. Along with their previous rewards, they now also reward a legendary greater spool of infinite threads. When you use this item, you'll get 180 to one of your cloak's random stats, or double for stamina. That's the same as 15 epic threads all at once, so it's a very nice quick boost to your cloak's power. They also now reward you with a legendary bronze cache, which contains 1,250 bronze, so they're also a great source of the bronze currency now. With 3 daily quests available, you can easily pick up some huge power gains for your cloak, and a very nice chunk of the bronze currency for doing content that you were probably working towards anyway. It's not just daily quests though. The daily first runs for normal and heroic dungeons and normal and heroic scenarios also reward you with epic spools, which provide you with 100 of a random stat, and these daily queues now also reward the larger bronze cache, which contains 1,250 bronze each. So be sure you're getting the daily activities done and you'll be well on your way to powering up your cloak and earning more bronze. There's another very easy source for those legendary spools, world bosses. There are 6 world bosses scattered around the Pandaria zones, 1 in the Valley of the Four Winds, 1 in Kunglai Summit, 1 on the Isle of Thunder, another on the Isle of Giants, and then 2 over on the Timeless Isle. They're all pretty easy and have groups constantly looking for more in the group finder. They can drop a few different things, so they're worth killing anyway, but that new legendary spool loot makes it so much more worthwhile to kill every world boss every day if you have the time for it. While collecting threads is super important and a major cornerstone of your character's power in this event, something just as important is upgrading your gear. Any piece of gear can be upgraded at the item upgrades vendor located in the Infinite Bazaar. Upgrading will cost you bronze, and you do need to upgrade every piece of gear to the same item level before the system will let you progress, so you can't just upgrade only your weapon, you do have to upgrade everything at the same time and pace. Higher item levels will increase the stats from any piece of gear, and will also significantly increase the stats that prismatic gems give you on the gear slots, and almost every spell gem also scales with the item level of the pieces of gear it is socketed in, so your item level has a huge impact on your character's overall performance and power level. Upgrading gear is an easy way to unlock some big stat gains as well, especially on your weapons. Just looking at the final upgrade is kind of insane. You end up with 23,000 primary stat and 15,000 stamina just from a two-handed weapon. The only problem here is the bronze cost. Gear upgrades cost a crazy amount of bronze, so you will either be farming for a long time or sacrificing some rewards to get your gear upgraded, which definitely isn't ideal and not very fun, but it's at least one half of your character's overall progression in the event, so you need to at least know about it. It's also super important to note that not all gear is created equal. Some pieces of gear have tertiary stats instead of secondary stats, so things like speed or avoidance instead of haste or crit. When you get up to rare gear drops, they will also have primary stats alongside a tertiary or secondary stat, so rare gear will almost always be better when compared to uncommon gear. A secondary stat option will almost always be better than a tertiary stat option as well, so upgrading your gear actually isn't enough. You will want to get yourself some rare pieces of gear for that valuable primary stat with a good secondary stat for you. Just replacing your gear of the same item level with better stats can be a huge power boost. Rare gear can drop from higher tiers of content like heroic dungeons or raids, so keep your eyes peeled for some good stat combinations when you get new pieces of gear. Thankfully, the upgrade system does have the same kind of discount catch-up baked into it that the retail seasons have for flight stones, so if you upgrade an item but get something later that ends up being better, like getting a rare item with a primary stat or just a better secondary stat, you don't have to fork over those massive chunks of bronze to get that new piece of gear all caught up. Any upgrades that you've already done are much cheaper, so you can swap those pieces of gear and upgrade a side grade very cheaply, as long as you've paid the premium for the first upgrade anyway. So don't feel like you have to hold out for the perfect item to upgrade something, you can just upgrade it later on and it won't break your bronze bank. With all that being said, upgrading costs a massive amount of bronze. Way too much in my opinion, and from what I've read online, a lot of other folks' opinions too. You basically have to choose between upgrading gear or unlocking rewards, which is never going to feel good. I would expect to see a change come through eventually that reduces the costs of upgrading equipment, so if you upgrade now and then make it cheaper later, you probably won't get your bronze back. So it's a hard call. No one wants to waste thousands of bronze, but I guess we'll just have to see what happens. Another very useful tip that a lot of folks don't know about is that you can queue for multiple things simultaneously and the queues will actually overlap. So for example, you can queue for a scenario, a dungeon and an LFR wing all at once. In fact, you can queue for multiple LFR wings too. This is great for when you're playing a DPS and you have longer queues, because while you're waiting in the queue for some of the slower content, you can queue up for and complete things like scenarios, where being a DPS doesn't really affect your queue time at all because scenarios don't have strict role requirements like dungeons or LFR. So by the time you've cleared through your scenario, your dungeon might be ready, and then by the time you've cleared through that dungeon, your LFR will probably pop, and then whenever you're queuing for LFR, do be sure to queue for multiple wings at the same time, because by the time you clear through one LFR wing, the next queue will probably be available, and then you can just chain your instances back to back to back, even if you're a DPS. So if you have a good chunk of time to play, and there are certain things that you want to get done, like the random queue dailies for scenarios, dungeons and LFR, be sure to queue up for as much as you can. It really helps to cut down your actual time spent waiting in queues. And then the last tip we have for you is that you can take it easy in this event. There are so many options for how to play and how to get your hands on the various mounts and transmog rewards. Pretty much anything you do will earn you bronze, so whether you want to run dungeons, clear the raids, or farm monsters out in the world, or now just level characters over and over again, it all counts, it all contributes, and we have over 80 days left in this event. There is plenty of time to get what you need or want, so don't stress if you miss the frog farming or whatever farm replaces it next. Heck, they're even buffing some of the more chill farms available, like collecting bronze orbs. Bronze orbs can be found floating around in the sky of every Pandaria zone. They're usually hanging out above tall buildings, rock formations, or under bridges. The dev team recently buffed the bronze rewarded from these orbs and increased the rate at which they reward threads. So if you don't like farming mobs or doing raids or leveling or any kind of group content, you can just take to the skies and farm bronze orbs for as long as you want. It's actually not a terrible bronze or threads farm now, so there are many options for how to play. Don't feel like you have to jump on the latest farming method to get your rewards secured. We have quite a long time left in the event, so play however you want. But that's 15 things I wish I knew sooner about the Mr. Pandaria Remix event, so that's it for this video. Are there any parts of the event that still don't make sense to you or that you think need some big changes? Are there any tips that you want to share with the rest of the community? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you'd like to add your name to the end of every video with a special shout out at the start of the next video, you can find links in the description or to Patreon or click the join button just below this video. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.